Whew. Tomorrow I'll be on set for a fashion spec that I'm filming over at Via Films. I spent all morning prepping the Alexa Mini with this old Ingenue 1780. It's an Optimo, but it doesn't quite cover the Super 35 sensor because it was made for Academy 35 back in the film day. So it kind of has this cool looking distortion and even a really gnarly vignette wide open, which I'm really excited to use. So I'll probably do maybe a reel or something for that I'll post, but that has nothing to do with today. This evening I sat down ready to make this ongoing series for you, and my hope is that this 4-part series teaches you something, both from my experience and the research that I've done in preparation for this topic, because I put a lot of time into preparing for this and collecting my thoughts and trying to think of a way that I could distill this down into something that's bite-sized and easy to understand. So here we go. Enjoy. Okay, so this is the first video in a 4-part series that I'm going to be tackling right away. So we're going to call this 4-part series How to Win in the Creative Industry. I've broken this series up into 4 different parts. The first one is how to learn. The second one, how to compete. The third one, how to invest. And the fourth one, how to succeed. So I hope that over the next 4 videos, which is going to take me about a month to get through, I'll be able to share, from my experience and also experience from others and also research that I've done on this topic to try and help distill this topic down into something that's actually helpful versus just a long TED talk of really complicated things that we kind of walk away with most of the time and just be like, that was really interesting, but I don't know how it applies to me. So that's the goal. And to kick it off, we're going to talk about how to learn. Because I think when you're talking about how to win in the creative industry or in business or really anything in life, it's important to talk about how we learn. The best definition I found is to impress the future version of yourself. Why define it that way? So if you're at the top of your game, you can't compete with others because you'll just grow complacent because you already know you're the best. And if you're not at the top of your game, like most of us, recognize that you can only control what's within your control. And only you know what that is. So that's why I really resonate with this definition. Winning is just trying to impress your future self. Because everything we're going to talk about on this channel is based on the underlying assumption that your future is within your control. The only person that can affect the way you succeed or fail in life and within the film industry is you. So let's get into it. What is learning? Learning is essentially same situation, different behavior. For example, you take your camera out to shoot some stuff with your friends. You forget that the last time you used your camera, you had set the white balance to tungsten, 3200. You take that camera out, you're shooting all day in the natural light, and you get it back into post, and you realize, oh shoot, I set everything to 3200 Kelvin. Everything looks super blue. So if you were then to take your camera back out the next day and not look at the white balance before you started shooting, you will have not learned. So learning is you're presented with the same situation, you have a different reaction or behavior to that situation. How to win in film. You already know the baseline of how to win in anything you do, and I can prove it to you. Let's go through something called an inversion test. An inversion technique is a simple thing to do. All you do is you take the problem that you're facing and you ask yourself, what would I have to do in this situation to just absolutely fail? Take a few minutes and ask yourself, what would I have to do to end up being a complete loser, to have completely failed in the film industry or any career or business that I tackle? You probably came up with things like this. Impatient, shows up late, watches too much Netflix, unprepared, not confident, doesn't follow up, transactional, not relational, doesn't advertise. Okay, these are obvious things, right? So the inversion technique is simple. You just take those things that you know you would have to do to fail and flip them around. So instead of impatient, you are patient. Instead of showing up late, you show up on time, every time. Instead of watching too much Netflix, you balance that out with some good podcasts and books. Instead of being unprepared, you're prepared every time you show up to set. You're always confident. You always follow up. You're relational, not transactional. And you advertise yourself well. Oftentimes with this kind of thing, the shorter the list, the more potent those things are. And if you come up with just one thing when you're doing an inversion test, oftentimes that's the one thing that if you flip around can be your North Star to success. Okay, so you already know how to win because you know how to lose. So let's get back to learning. People throw out the word education all the time, and especially within the creative industry. Educate yourself, learn everything you can, read books, watch movies, dissect films, listen to podcasts, read books, go see a public speaker or attend an event. All of these are very simple things to do, but a lot of the times we don't do them. A lot of the time that can be attributed to not breaking them down to their most simple form. See, the more skilled you are, the more general a command you can execute effectively. Imagine this scenario. You've been asked to be a gaffer on a student short film. It's your first time on set, you've never even touched a light. If an experienced DP were to ask you to light the scene, you wouldn't know how to do it. You'd probably freeze because your skill set isn't broad enough to take that general command and execute it effectively. But if that skilled DP were to ask a 10+ year industry gaffer to light the scene based on the conversations they've been having about the look, the references that they've talked about, and the mood and look that they've established beforehand, that gaffer could show up to set and be like, on it. That gaffer who's never been on set before has no idea how to light a set. So in order for that gaffer to get unstuck, the DP would have to use effective, broken down communication in much simpler terms for that gaffer to see success. That DP would have to say, take this rag, put it up on this bar, put the bar on a stand, put a sandbag on the stand, take that light over there, out of the bag, hook up this header cable to the ballast, take the ballast and plug it in, turn on the light, put it on a stand, etc. So this also goes for effective learning. While some people may be able to watch a YouTube video or attend a seminar or attend an event and walk away and make significant changes in their life and career, other people may attend the exact same event and walk away and change nothing. So is that a problem of the event or the person? That may just be a limit of that person's ability to take a broad general idea and break it down into effective steps. The skills we're talking about here are meta skills. A meta skill is just a skill that allows you to learn other skills, also known as a higher order skill. Reading, communicating, problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity are all meta skills. And many human traits, like charisma, are also skills, but we'll talk about that in episode 4 of this series. If you're consuming education, training series, YouTube videos, podcasts, books, and you still just feel like you can't advance no matter how much education you take in, it may just be time to upgrade those meta skills. And there's lots of resources for that as well. YouTube's a great place to start. So the problem with using these general terms to communicate in shorthand is that people who don't have the meta skills to process those general terms often walk away feeling like they're inadequate or they're stuck and they don't know how to progress, when really all they need to do is take those skills, break them down into smaller, more manageable steps, and progress. For instance, let's look at another scenario. You have the CEO of a business, and they're told, go advertise. They have 25 years of experience across 3 different major brands. Of course they're going to be able to take that general command and go run with it. However, if I were to go and tell a toddler who has absolutely no real-world experience to go advertise, they would probably be like, what? Makes sense, right? But if we were to tell the toddler, okay, press this button to turn on your computer. Hold this mouse. Move this mouse up until the little pointy thing lands on that button. Click the button. Break it down into simpler steps. That toddler may be able to advertise to some degree. I know this example isn't perfect, but what I'm trying to communicate is that you aren't inadequate.
You is kind, you is smart, you is important.
You aren't incapable. You may just need a little bit of help breaking down complex ideas into simpler things. Put aside your ego It has nothing to do with how intelligent you are. And just trust in the process that if you acquire the necessary meta skills to process complex ideas, you may be able to progress farther than you think you can. If I could attribute anything to the minor success I saw early on, it would be my education. And I'm not talking about film school, because again, I went to business school. The education I'm talking about was any time I felt like I needed to level up, I soaked up everything I could about that topic. I found podcasts. I asked people for recommendations for books. I went on YouTube. YouTube has always been a huge resource for me. I asked other people questions. I tried to reach out and look for opportunities to allow myself to practice and advance. Invest in your education and skill set so that you can become a knowledgeable, well-rounded technician and creative. And if you have a hard time staying motivated, welcome to the club. Everyone who works in the creative field does. But stay tuned, because I'm going to talk about that too. Another tip I have is to diversify your skill set, at least in the beginning, to make you a more well-rounded creator. The more of the entire process that you understand, the more you'll be able to hone your specific craft, as well as communicate what you need to the rest of the team. It'll also make you a more empathetic and patient person on set, because you'll understand firsthand the struggles that other departments face. If you're just starting out, do this until you feel like you have a good grasp on what each job entails. I also recommend spending some of your personal time outside the medium that you're pursuing professionally, other artistic mediums, because, say that you're working as a cinematographer, exploring things like painting or playing music, or watching animation, or any ceramics, any of those kinds of artistic mediums all have elements that work together with the creative elements in cinematography. And the more of those other things that you dabble in, the more like cross-pollination with ideas and techniques and even composition and just like the ability to feel inspired that you'll experience. You'll see all sorts of cross-pollination of ideas between different departments. Exposing yourself to different artistic mediums introduces you to new concepts, techniques, and perspectives. This cross-pollination between different artistic mediums totally inspires your overall ability to create and even approach problems in your professional field. Personally, as a DP, I draw, and I also love Japanese animation. So I soak those things up, and I think they really heavily influence a lot of the techniques and composition and storytelling methods that I employ in my professional career. So learning new techniques and experimenting with different forms of expression can spark innovative thinking, and it can help you break through creative blocks. Once you feel like you have a pulse on what you want to do, dive in head first. Soak up everything you can. Go to seminars, buy classes, watch YouTube, read books, listen to podcasts, talk to people, expand your network and ask those people lots of questions. Look for opportunities to get on professional sets where you can learn how to hone those skills by watching other people do it. So in the next video, we're going to talk about how to compete. Why the age-old adage of don't have all your eggs in the same basket is often misconstrued, and how to be someone that your competition respects and that people want to hire. I'm looking forward to it. And if you learned something from this video and you liked it, you know what to do. Cheers.